Greetings everyone, my name is Pavos Terma and today in UATV studio we have our favorite Anna from Ukraine, a blogger, YouTuber and opinion maker in the global, I believe, English language community. Greetings, Anna.
Thank you so much. Really happy to be here with your audience.
I am really happy to welcome you here because it is important to build a community to sustain the information warfare in our difficult times. Since 2022, the full-scale war, we had different information upholds and downfalls. Right now, it is very important to hold on and to sustain this information influence. Please tell us and our audience, how do you manage to continue this information influence with English-speaking people?
You know, I am very grateful for the community of my channel. And in these really dark times, one of the greatest things that many Ukrainians have discovered was the support of the world. And when I started vlogging, I had 47 subscribers, and all of our community grew during this, unfortunately, 3 years of war. But I always feel these are friends and family. These are no subscribers or viewers. All of these people actually do a lot of things to support Ukraine, starting from addressing the political representatives, writing to American senators, or helping Ukrainian refugees in their countries, or simply sharing the videos and debunking lots of Russian fakes. And you know, many people were talking about Ukraine fatigue, a term that I personally hate. We should use Russia fatigue instead of Ukraine
And I
fatigue.
believe that the Ukraine fatigue is out of the question right now
Yes,
because
because more and more smart people realize it is not a war between Russia and Ukraine. It's not a local conflict. It is a war between the democratic world and authoritarian regimes. Because right now, Ukraine is fighting with North Korea, not just Russia. And China definitely helps them to do it. And more people in different corners of the world actually realize that this is just a battle here in Ukraine and it can actually continue further if not stopped here with the determination of Ukrainian people.
yes, and some people say, including a Slovenian meme philosopher, he's very popular, Slavoj Žižek, he has written an article for Kiev Independent that Ukraine's struggle is a metaphysical struggle for survival of the whole Western civilization right now. The worldview of freedom against the no value of life in Russia, as we can see with their daily casualties. And regarding the community, I really know and feel that it is important because I know from Estonia, Deputy Member of Parliament Kriston Envaga, Artur Rehi, and other people from NAFO, North Atlantic Fellows Organization, and 69 Sinifin Brigade, they've started as a meme community on Twitter, which is now x.com, and they grew into supplying trucks and radio warfare systems and UAVs to Ukrainian army, directly to regiments of Ukrainian
Yes.
army. So it's the power of this unity, transatlantic, transcontinental. That's not a mystery maybe, but that is very fascinating how people can unite over this idea. And we use YouTube, as UATV English is completely digital platform on YouTube, Facebook, and other, to unite people around this idea.
Yes, and we are very grateful that so many people actually support Ukraine, and sometimes their politicians may be worried or just concerned when people donate money for Ukrainian drones, which are working. And I was very honored to cooperate with NAFO, and we actually had 4 campaigns on the channel providing drones. And drones save lives and demilitarize Russia, and that is our #1 priority. And you were right in saying that it is a very important civilizational moment that we go through right now. I didn't share a lot about that, but I'm actually working on the book that can potentially explain more about Ukraine. And I remember how during these first days of war, I was asking myself a question: what is a world war? When do you actually start considering a war a world war? Because of the number of countries that participate and the First World War, the Second World War, they were not named that way at the moment of happening. And I have come to a conclusion that perhaps the world war is when it's not about territories, resources, access to the sea, or a princess, as it was in ancient times, but it is about some global civilizational values. If it is at the stake, freedom, choice, respect to human life, then it is a world war, even if it takes place in just one region. So ours, unfortunately, is definitely a world war, and we can clearly see Russian hybrid warfare in different corners of the world. What many forget when being afraid of Oreshnik and other stuff, they expect a huge nuclear attack or something like that, when this war of Russia against their countries is already happening, with interference into elections, with internet cables cut underwater, and many other things happening.
Culture warfare, and it is really important because before Russian tanks arrive, Russian culture arrives, and we know that from history. Probably what we should address right now is the question of cheap Russian gas. That needle that the Europe has been sitting on for decades long, and most of the countries, including Austria itself, are diversifying their like gas supplies from other countries, but not Slovakia, not Hungary. And we had Robert Fico for the first time since 2022 going directly to Putin and holding closed private talks, not about the war and escalation, but personal profits.
You are very right. It is a dangerous precedent because during all this time of the full-scale invasion, no EU leaders visited Moscow without this peacekeeping or so-called peacekeeping mission. Even the Hungarian Orban visited Moscow after talks with Zelensky, at least disguising it in some peacekeeping missions. And Fico traveled to Moscow simply to negotiate gas prices. Moreover, there were no comments after their meeting. What did they manage to decide? And it is an illustration that such regimes, which actually have lots of resemblance of Russian, they are very dependent on Russian gas and gas prices. And Ukraine gave a lot of time to the EU countries to find solutions. And you see the majority of them found the solutions. And actually, it's not just a way out. It is best for the EU countries not to be dependent on Russian gas, because Russia always uses it to blackmail the countries, to distort their political choices. Ukraine had that experience. And you know that most of the worst decisions of the Ukrainian parliament, previous Ukrainian presidents, were actually dictated by these gas prices, negotiations, finishing with Kharkivsky agreements, right?
Yeah.
And Fico had enough time to think about potential other solutions for the gas transit.
He actually had one, excuse me. Volodymyr Zelensky have proposed to sell Ukrainian-produced gas to Slovakia and Hungary with compensation from European Commission for the prices to make it comparable to cheap Russian gas, but they refused.
Because Fico is a Russian asset. And people in Slovakia should not be worried they will freeze to death, because I'm sure there are ways out. Fico is worried because that is his instrument to get re-elected, promising people cheap Russian gas because he has a buddy in the Kremlin. And I hope that sometime soon we will be actually in this moment in history where, as President Zelensky said, special services of Slovakia will pay attention and will actually interrogate Fico for his visit to Moscow, and it should be prosecuted, because negotiating anything with a war criminal, which we know that International Criminal Court issued an order to arrest Putin, it's not something that a leader of the EU country can do.
A leader of a EU and NATO country. In fact, NATO chief generals and the Secretary General Rutte says that Russia is preparing in the coming 5 years to attack the alliance, and the leader of a NATO country goes to Moscow.
Yes.
Well, that is quite unfortunate. We also have the double question of deployment of North Korean troops on Ukrainian soil, not only on Kursk region, but some people say in the Ukrainian intelligence say that they will be deployed in Ukraine to fight, to reinforce maybe the Kupiansk direction for Russians or the Kherson direction. And the question of deploying European peacekeepers is very negatively viewed in the countries of Europe if there will be no American peacekeepers. So they are afraid their societies will not support such a decision. That's ambiguity. From one place, we have North Koreans killing Ukrainians and probably killing Russians accidentally. And on the other side, we have only Ukrainians and volunteers and no direct involvement of all these powerful NATO and EU countries.
As a linguist, I often observe how wrong the narrative about Ukraine-Russia war is. And the focuses made by even our partners' media are often very wrong. First of all, it is like war in Ukraine, Ukraine war. No, it's Russian war against Ukraine. We simply defend our territories, and that's it. It was not provoked by us. It was breaking of all international laws. Then it's not about saving Ukraine. It's about defeating Russia. Don't focus on Ukrainian problems. Focus on punishing and stopping, defeating and demilitarizing the aggressor that is responsible for so many troubles in these recent years, starting from Chechnya, Georgia, Moldova, and now more and more countries feel endangered, especially those who were once unlucky to be part of the Soviet Union. We talk about potential attack on Estonia right now. They cut underwater internet cables, they spoil water, nature, and so on. So it is already a global problem, but it's not the Ukraine that should be in the focus. It's Russia, because violating all of these international laws and agreements, Russia demonstrated disrespect to the world order, and the country should act like a policeman in this case. And unfortunately, many steps that are definitely an escalation, like a regular army of a foreign country in Russia fighting against Ukraine. What else do we need? That is definitely not something that could have been accepted like 30 years ago by many of the European and American countries.
This would have been about fantasy of some people under certain drugs, but not reviewed as reality. There was a movie in the United States where North Koreans allegedly attacked western states of the United States, and people like gathered into guerrilla militia and fought them back.
Mm-hmm.
But now we have North Koreans in Russia and probably soon in Ukraine fighting Ukrainians on Bradley armored vehicles of American origin.
Yeah. At the very start of this North Korean deployment, there was a joke of one Ukrainian soldier who said, "If only I could say that Ukrainian soldiers will be neutralizing North Korean soldiers in Kursk region of the Russian Federation back in 2022, no one would accept me to the army because of my mental state." Unfortunately, the world keeps accepting all of these changes that happen right now. And while many leaders pray that their escalation management, which definitely does not work, is a way to prevent the Third World War, North Korean soldiers are training to kill, let's say, Westerners. I don't like this term, but that's what they are doing. That's why they are in Russia. First of all, because Putin does not want to conscript new soldiers, and he lacks people and equipment, and now pathetic North Korean regime is backing them up. But second, they are preparing for a larger war.
Maybe for a war with South Korea, which is completely Western trained, Western armed. They have this same kind of preparation that the American army has. Mostly Ukrainian soldiers and Ukrainian officers are familiar with the Russian way of war, which is the Soviet way of war.
Mm-hmm.
They've graduated from the same military schools, after all. And I believe that, yes, they are preparing for something like Iran is preparing to sign a new deal with Russia, a strategic partnership. We can say that Russia, Iran, and North Korea are in access right now officially.
Yes.
So they are jointly conducting some military processes. Well, that is really, really unfortunate. Maybe we can conduct like a blitz questions. I will ask some questions and you answer this or yes or no. Are you ready?
I don't know, but
Okay.
let's do it.
So the first question, which is stronger, arms or culture?
Arms.
Okay. Who will win, a Western philosopher or a Russian demagogue in a direct conflict?
A Western philosopher.
A Western. Okay. Who has more resolve, Ukrainian people, more resilience, Ukrainians or Russians will endure all the hardships of.
Ukrainians, 1,000% more. If something similar would happen to Russia, I mean, Ukrainian tanks march into Moscow, that would definitely be a blitzkrieg.
Okay, and another one. Probably, where would you like to celebrate victory of Ukraine?
I promised the Crimea party, so why not? Beautiful
Oh,
subtropical climate.
yeah, I miss Crimea too very much. Some places there. Okay, thank you very much. Maybe you have some remarks, final questions that you would like to ask us or tell something to the audience. You can tell it right now.
Well, first of all, I would like to address the audience and to tell them that fear is definitely not the feeling that should drive us. We can hide from our problems, but even your personal experience, your professional experience had proven you a number of times that fear is not the engine of any positive change or solutions in your life. That's why take example from the Ukrainian people and other nations who know what Russia is and simply support us in our fight against them so that you and your children don't have to do it in future. And my question to you will be, what is your dream show to have on the channel or to report about?
Oh, the dream show. We have several projects right now. It's called Truth Games, where I debunk the propaganda myth, and also I take other topics that I like to incorporate there. What I would really much like is a talking podcast show on the channel. We have red lines, but I would like something quite different with a lot of graphics, maybe some flashy scenes, maps. Of course, with you, with our other friends, with Artur Rehi, with Operator Starsky, which is once a week on our UATV channel too. Yeah, maybe I would like to have some live meeting of us influencers, TV presenters, hosts, somewhere in the summer after victory in Crimea on a joint picnic, yes, with shashlik and cameras discussing how we spent all this time and what will we do next. That's my dream.
Let it be our 2025 resolution.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for being with us. I'm really happy. So see you again.
See you.
So that was Anna from Ukraine, a blogger, opinion maker. We very much like watching her videos and sharing them and having her on Redline show. And today she was in our UATV studio for the daily wrap-up episode. Subscribe to the channel and be sure to hit the like for our channel and for Anna's too. Have a nice evening.